as a senator in Texas, we're assigned to be parts of different teams. In this particular case, I'm a joint author of Senate Bill 7, which is written by the chairman of the State Affairs Committee, that's Senator Brian Hughes. And this is an omnibus bill, which means it's a collection of a lot of bills and a lot of ideas that senators had about voting integrity. And specifically, it's the main bill that's passed out of the Senate and has now gone to the House. We're about a third of the way through the process because the House has to pass a bill. And then literally there's a conference committee that gets set up to look at the differences between the two bills. And that's even before both houses pass it and it goes to the Senate. So while we've made big progress in the Senate passing an omnibus voter integrity bill, SB 7, there's still a long way to go in the process. Now, what's SB 7 all about? In the words of the chairman of the committee, who's the primary bill author, Senator Hughes, it's about making it easier for people to vote and harder to cheat. As somebody that's been involved in elections and an election official, as well as have been involved with writing election code and bills, because I've got many myself. In my mind, it's really about voter integrity of the voter roll. Because if you have a voter roll with integrity, that means you're going to have election results that everybody believes in. So you'll see many of my bills, not just as part of SB 7, but I've got 3 bills that are coming up for debate tomorrow, SB 1112, 1113, 1114, that talk about good operations procedures in voting, and we can discuss those at length. But a lot of these ideas are as simple as an idea that I've gotten the Democrats in the state Senate to support, which is that if you have election results, you should put those election results for cities, counties, and school districts 2 clicks away from the homepage. Well, the good news is that the Democrat senators voted for it, but with the frothy conditions of politics now, unfortunately, national organizations were even against a good government bill of like Senate Bill 1116 that's going to pass unanimously. And that's part of the problem we're having now. We're not having public policy debates. We're having national froth, labeling debates about what voter integrity bills are or are not. Actually, 2 voter harvesting indictments that are underway in Texas. One is Gregg County. It's predominantly a Democratic county, and the indictments are done by the Office of Attorney General. There's another voter harvester indictment down in Bexar County, and that person is actually named Republican elected officials as well. Now, what this is voter harvesting is obviously, a pretty generic concept people understand, which is somebody collects the votes, harvests them, and votes one way, and then turns those votes in. Now, those are indictments that have been issued, and regardless of what you hear, the Office of Attorney General has many investigations underway right now from the 2020 election. Now, what do we know about the 2020 election in Harris County? Well, there are arguments between both political parties about, whether or not to mail out absentee ballot forms to the entire voter roll. County Clerk Collins wanted to do it. The Supreme Court said no, and the Fifth Circuit of the federal court in New Orleans agreed. So he could not send out 2 million absentee ballots forms to everybody on the voter roll because they didn't qualify for it. The public paid for it. We probably paid $500,000 to $1 million because those forms were later shredded. So you have to watch to make sure that you're doing the right operational events in elections and that you're following the election code. And that's really what I think my voter bills are about. In fact, I had 7 of them and I called them Voter Integrity 7 because that's what they're really designed to do. Strengthen the integrity of the voter roll. It's preposterous political theater. And here's why. In the mayor's press conference this week, the county judge and a county commissioner not only said that it was voter suppression, not only said it was Jim Crow too, they actually said there's a poll tax in this bill. Now, there's no poll tax in SB 7. There's no cost to voters at all. It's completely made up, fabricated labeling of a bill because there's not a shred of truth to it. Now, and when you talk about Jim Crow in Texas, you need to understand that Jim Crow had its heights in the 1920s and 50s. And when you look in that mirror, you're going to see Democrats staring back at you because there were no Republicans in Texas in the 1920s and 50s. And that's not what the modern Republican Party is about. You know, as a voter registrar, the reason why I was because I was the tax assessor. My predecessor collected the poll tax because he had been in office for 50 some odd years since Roosevelt was elected. And we did away with the poll tax in 1964. It is illegal under federal law. So the fact that the county judge and the county commissioner, which in this case is County Judge Hidalgo and County Commissioner Ellis are even talking about it, it's completely not true. It's a falsehood. And I utterly reject it because I was born in the late 1950s. I understand what Jim Crow, at least historically, means, and I reject the historical reference because it's simply not true. I did a question to Senator Hughes. I said, this is not voter suppression. This is not Jim Crow. And we hadn't even heard the charge about a poll, about a poll tax. And that's just preposterous political theater. All of this is, we need to get away from labeling stuff and talk about what's in the bill. Read the bill. The reason why voter integrity is important is we've just gone through a national election, a lot of froth, and so we've got this basically now after argument that's occurring. And it's much stronger than in 2000, which is the last time we've had a close presidential election. But I was a young tax assessor, and we were involved in cleaning up the roll at the time. And in 1998, there were 50,000 deceased and felon registrations on Harris County's roll. It's all documented. You can go back in all the period literature and look at it. 1% of those 50,000 were actually voting. So that's 500 people. And the margin of victory in Florida was almost 500 people back then. If you go look at Gore versus Bush, okay, in the Supreme Court decisions, hanging chads and the previous generation of voting equipment, which was all punch cards, not what we're using now, which is DRE, much less what the counties bought. And they've done a good job of buying new equipment. It's not only electronic, but there's also verifiable paper trail, which is a good thing that Judge Hidalgo has done. The problem with all of this is that you have to have good practices. You can't just, Harris County, of all the 254 counties in the state, tried to mail out 2 million absentee ballots to people on the rolls they can't possibly qualify for, would have caused a tremendous amount of voter confusion. You can't have people starting drive-through voting without getting a bill passed in the legislature, because we know that on October the 29th, there were 1,644 unaccounted votes. And now by complaint by Houstonian Rachel Hooper Esquire, there's 1,884 that are still unaccounted for. And I've just checked with the Secretary of State, and they still don't have that resolved with Harris County. So the problem right now is Harris County did things that they still haven't accounted to the Secretary of State. And this has been part of the untold story, but it's true. And you can see it on my social media and see it in the records actually of the election. So let's work together to get good voter integrity, to get access to everyone. We want everybody to register to vote and to vote. But we want them to have a framework that's in the election code to do it. And I, for one, after my early experience, knows how important it is to have a voter roll with integrity. And then everybody can then count on the results, because if the voter roll is clean and it's got, and it's people that are eligible and that they're ready to go vote, then you can trust the outcome of those elections.